All right, guys, it is an emergency Oregonian Sports Podcast. 911-425.
I thought I had you on block, but somehow I got through, so here I am.
Not do. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun.
Guys, the Portland Trailblazers appear to have a buyer.
I put in a bid and it wasn't me.
Well, it's because you're dropping $49.99 on some guy to come put WD-40 in your garage door. All right, guys.
Inside info.
This is the Oregonian Sports Podcast, revamped a little bit, but especially for this emergency session. Bill Oram here, joined by Aaron Fentress, Joe Freeman. We're talking Blazers sale today. Aaron has covered the Blazers for the last 5 years. Joe has covered the Blazers off and on and again for us for the last 20 years. So some pretty good perspective coming your way. News came out yesterday morning that the Blazers have an agreement. And when I say the Blazers, I really mean the Paul Allen estate have an agreement in place to sell the franchise to Tom Dundon. Not a name that I knew before yesterday at about 8:20 a.m. I don't know if you guys hang out in those circles.
I did a list of prospective buyers, had 14 names on it, and he wasn't one of them. Very disappointed. Very disappointed.
So he wasn't on your bingo card.
He was not. Like, come on, I have 14 people on there. Come on, I gotta
dude.
get
Aaron, you done dirty.
Okay,
Dad
we're up
joke.
to 2
Dad
on
joke.
the Dun Dun Duns.
Dad
Let's get an
jokes.
over-under on Dun Dun Duns for the pod. Mine's at
Dun
4.5.
The Dun 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 podcast. Okay, so we've had basically 24 hours to process this news, to learn more, to kind of kick the tires on it. Joe, why don't you kind of handled the news for us yesterday? What do we know about Tom Dundon and his and who he is as he comes, sashaying into the Portland market?
Well, he sachets. I guess that happens in Dallas. I don't know. He's from Dallas, lives in Dallas, owns the most pertinent thing for Blazers fans is he already is a professional sports owner. He owns the Carolina Hurricanes, the hockey team in Raleigh, and has really kind of transformed them or helped transform them into a very successful franchise. Under his 7 years, they've made the playoffs all 7 years. They've made 3 Eastern Conference finals. They had not made the playoffs, I believe, in 9 seasons before his ownership. So the success on the ice in this case speaks for itself. From a financial standpoint, his net value is reportedly worth about $2 billion, which you've got that tucked away in your couch there, don't you, Aaron? How come you couldn't compete with that?
I offered 1.9, bro.
No, you got beat out.
He barely did, yeah.
Yeah, and he has his hands in a ton of stuff. He's an investor in Top Golf, an investor in Pickleball Inc. He's
I thought that's where you were going to start when he said he's already a professional sports team owner. I thought you were going to say pro pickleball.
The most interesting nugget one of the most interesting nuggets I came across was that he used to play pickup hoops with Mark Cuban apparently a couple times a week. Reached out to Mark Cuban, he did not return my email yesterday. Surprise, surprise. So we'll keep
that's not like Cubes. Cubes should get back to you.
Yeah,
He says he gets 1,000 emails a day. Mark Cuban did so.
Well, he needs to have my name front and center there. Doesn't he know I was on a deadline?
Did you hit him on Cyberdust?
I did not. I don't even know what Cyberdust is. Is that like fairy dust or what's going on there?
Cyberdust is Mark Cuban's personal messaging app that I don't know who. I mean, no disrespect to Mark Cuban, I don't know who uses it other than Mark Cuban. But there was a time when, if you were a reporter and you wanted to reach Mark Cuban, it was the best way was to download Cyberdust, register an account, find him, and send him a message. And the messages disappear, so you'll have to screenshot his response pretty quickly. But I was told yesterday that email works just as well. So maybe Cyberdust isn't that important, or maybe it doesn't work well at all.
Well, we'll try him again here in the coming days as we try to work on more stuff about Tom Dundon. He also had a couple of local investors, and Bill, I know that's a huge component of this. Obviously, everybody's fear, I don't need to tell our listening audience, is that this team's going to be relocated with any new ownership. And it seems
Am I the only person not worried about that? I think
I have not been, and I've long couched it by saying maybe I'm naive and dumb, which I'm sure half of our listening audience would attest to. So So no, in a rare, maybe the first of its kind. I agree with. I'm not even going to say his name, but he's on this video here. I don't want anybody clipping that audio for future reference.
Can I just the thing that I have said, like Aaron Fentress is right. Joe Freeman says. Now I'm going to get that clipped.
Yeah, there you go. Just stop it with a period.
Okay, I'm just gonna back up my claim here and just say that my thing has always been that a healthy fear in the situation is good, so that you don't get Seattled and that you are proactive and prepared. I too think the team will stay here, but I don't think it is it might be an almost done deal, but I don't know if it's a done deal.
That's three. That's three. We need 2 more for the over 4.5.
We can get into the portability issue of the team and whether or not we totally buy that this is that this team now is guaranteed to stay here. We might have some different perspectives on that. But Aaron, hearing all that about Tom Dundon, hearing that the team has that the Carolina Hurricanes have flourished under his ownership, I would also point out that he's overseeing a huge renovation around the arena there in Raleigh where the Hurricanes play. I think that's an $800 million stadium and district project. Somebody should check me on that. Is that 800?
There is a sizable remodel of the arena, and then I believe it's a $1 billion, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but development plan around the arena.
And they might, the 800 might be what he's like personally staked for it, because I heard that he had put there was an $800 million investment by him. Aaron, go ahead. Sorry.
By him? If he's only worth $2 billion, that's kind of okay. Anyway.
Well, I mean, in terms of his stake, I mean, it could also be stuff that he is like that he is like things that he is on the hook for. There's all kinds of ways to finance this stuff. It's not his cash. Okay, go ahead.
So what I just saw was just a $1 billion mixed use development surrounding the arena, but that included the $300 million for the arena itself. Either way, it's a lot of money that they're putting into it, which is something that we all believe needs to happen in the Rose Quarter. And Jody Allen and company, and not through her, but through other people put out that they're planning to do things in the Rose Quarter. There's that's part of the bridge project with the city, and they started with doing the scoreboards, doing the reader boards inside, screens, et cetera, et cetera. So that was already starting. Were they going to get to $1 billion? I don't know. I think we all believe Phil Knight would have dropped a cool $1 billion and revamped that place, but that didn't happen. But I like the fact that I love the fact that he owns a professional team and that there's a track record of success there, that he took over a franchise that was struggling, got it back on track, that he got to the point where he could get money to, however he got it, to revamp the area, to rebuild the area, to redo the arena, because that's something that the Moda Center definitely needs. So I think it's a great fit. I guess my only negative would be, maybe you feel more comfortable with someone worth 10, 15, 20 billion, because maybe they're not going to worry as much about the bottom line. If someone's worth 2 billion, are they going to worry more about those things? As a Cubs fan, I know Cubs fans are always pissed because the Ricketts family seems to be counting money because they're not super billionaires. But at the end of the day, I think this is a good fit because of all the other things I mentioned and the things Joe mentioned.
I think that it's a really good point too, Aaron. Not just whether he's worth enough to make you feel good about it, but I'm not sure the math is mathing on this sale just yet. We know 3 of the names that are involved in this group. I think the group is going to get bigger. And our business team, by the way, just kicked ass yesterday. Matt Kish, Jonathan Bach at the Oregonian. But one thing that I wanted to one thing I wanted to highlight is there is a push to get local investors involved. These are not going to be the people who come in and buy 20-25% of the team, but getting, local money infused in this team so that there are, local business leaders who have some level of skin in the game. And I thought, so Matt Kish gets Tim Boyle on the phone yesterday, chairman of Columbia Sportswear. And Tim Boyle has had conversations with Tom Dundon. He is interested in having what he called a tiny speck of ownership, but just enough where he could have, not decision level, not a decision level stake, but a voice. And, he said, if it helps keep the team here, I would want to be invested. And I think the fact that Tom Dundon is making those relationships and creating that kind of coalition is really encouraging for the future of the team. But I'm still waiting to see if there is another big piece of the financial puzzle to come.
No, what's the price tag? Is it 4.3 billion?
So it's
or is that,
I saw 4.2.
Yeah, so nothing official, right? So, Sham said just over 4, and then I think Sportico put it at 4.25. So, and which, by the way, is a good price for the Blazers. I think when the team went up for sale, we were kind of all sitting around saying like 3.5, somewhere between 3.5 and 4. Remember when Phil Knight made his offer a couple of years ago
2.2.
Was that the number?
And laughed at it. Yeah, it was a joke.
Yeah, and say what you will about Jody Allen, and the fact that this has been kind of, the team has sort of been in kind of an in between purgatory for the last 7 years from a financial standpoint, waiting until this moment. The value of the team, has. What was the team worth in 2018 relative to now? It's probably quadrupled. There's probably $1 billion in 2018.
Right.
Yeah. Another interesting note about Tom, and it kind of piggybacks on what Fentress was saying, is in addition to everything he's doing to the arena in Raleigh and the surrounding development area in Raleigh, which I think we all agree, and the league has made clear, Commissioner Adam Silver has said that something needs to be done with the Moda Center, or the arena here in Portland. I think that there was this idea that the Hurricanes were going to move or relocate, or at least were up for relocating. And Tom and his group, stiff-armed that and kept that team there. And through a public-private kind of a situation there with the arena. And I think that is an immensely important nugget to note with him taking over this situation. In many ways, it mirrors what went on there. Obviously, this is a much more popular franchise locally and has a deeper, more successful history than the Hurricanes did. But from that standpoint, if I'm the Paul Allen estate, if I'm Jody Allen, if I'm the bank that tried to find these people to buy the team, that's an important element for me, because I think quietly, and you've seen it here and there in stories that have been written recently, I think quietly there was a condition from Jody and from Vulcan to keep the team here with any sale. Now, you could say that when you sell it, and when an ownership buys it, they could say they did everything they could and they can move it. So anything could still happen. But I think that was a driving force for them. Quietly, it was a condition to any sale. And so, like I said, the fact that he's been through this with an arena that needed updating in a city that's a smaller market, I think it all bodes well for what's going on here when he takes over.
I think those are good parallels. Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, just add to this talking point. So I'm reading here that the renovation includes $540 million from the city and county, paid over 28 years. So it's not as if he came up with all the money through by himself and private investors. There's some city and county money as well, which should be a warning to Multnomah County and the city of Portland that, you might have to come up with some cash. Well,
and there's a reason that he. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was going to say, I don't want to be like the Grim Reaper or the Angel of Death here, but the fact that we know that the state, city, county, metro is going to need to find some, you're talking about, coins in the couch cushions, that they're going to need to contribute to this either, major renovation to Moda and this idea of a district around the Rose Quarter, which has been talked about for years. And there's a lot happening in the Lower Albina district. Do we trust Oregon state leaders, local leaders? The makeup of the Portland city government right now does not seem particularly eager to say the least, to levy new taxes, particularly for sports and billionaires. This is where I start thinking kind of down the road, and you have a new owner who is going to have a sparkling, revamped facility with an entertainment district just sitting there with only one tenant in the Carolina Hurricanes. I hope that this all goes as smoothly as we're hoping it, as we're projecting, but it doesn't seem that hard for me to envision a time where, Tom Dundon, and maybe I'm just an overly cynical person and I would accept that criticism, but where Tom Dundon now has leverage on Portland, on the city, to say, hey, if you don't pony up, I got a building in Raleigh. Now, do I think the NBA wants a team in Raleigh, North Carolina? I do not. Do I think the team wants the league wants a second team in North Carolina at all, given the way things have gone for the Hornets? I do not. But that is leverage. And I do wonder if Tom Dundon wants to fund two bi-coastal, entertainment districts, or if you'd want to consolidate eventually. So I hope that it's all as good faith as it seems. I really do. I really want to just be.
You're not wrong. This is what happened in Seattle.
Yes. And
on that note, I would encourage our listeners to go listen. There was a podcast done by The Ringer called Sonic Boom, How Seattle Lost Its Team. It's maybe a 6 or 7 part podcast. It is incredible. It is incredibly reported. It's incredibly produced. I stumbled upon it maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and I was captured by it and listened to the whole thing. There was so much that went on behind the scenes that led to them leaving, involving multiple sports teams and taxpayer burnout from taxes. And anyway, we could go on down the list. It's kind of apples and oranges, a situation here and there. But I would encourage people, and I might go back and listen to it at this point just to kind of refresh myself. I will say, one thing that Tom apparently has been very shrewd at, and my guess is it's because of his history with the Hurricanes, is that he's already fairly playing the political game here. He's doing it fairly well. I mean, 15 minutes yesterday before Senator Ron Wyden had a press conference, he spoke with Dundon on the phone and said, hey, I don't know exactly what he said, but basically I'm going to be the new owner of the Portland Trail Blazers, and we want to keep the team here. Yeah. Parsing through Wyden's words, Wyden has been, he's a big sports fan and has long touted his desire to be an NBA player many moons ago. But he's been in contact with Adam Silver and the league. I think that's important. We've had stuff from new mayor Keith Wilson, who's come out in public support of a public-private, situation with the arena. And, it's not like he's behind the scenes going, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do this. So you've already got some political positivity coming. Momentum. And I think I just can't. It's so immensely important in something like this. If you don't have the politics and you don't have the money and you don't have the spirit of the fans and all that, then you're dead. And I think everything is aligning, at least right now, it seems to me, for there to be a positive outcome here.
So I think if this was a few years ago, I think I would have been less confident because, I mean, and not to throw Ted Wheeler further under the bus that has just run him over and backed over him thousands of times. But there was a perception that this was not a city that was, particularly could not get aligned behind sports and did not have an understanding of the value of sports to the economy and the community. I think Ted Wheeler actually did get it toward the end of his tenure, and he did have throw some weight behind the baseball effort, which, I mean, believe in that as much or as little as you want. I think baseball, and I'll give credit to the Diamond Project here, I think they have done a good job of creating some of this alignment that we're talking about, where helping educate local leaders, state lawmakers on the importance of sports. And I think that a lot of that alignment that you're talking about has come out of the conversations that the Diamond Project and their people have had behind the scenes, for years and years and years and years. And you saw that in the last 2 legislative sessions where state lawmakers approved funding 2 sessions ago for the Hillsborough Hops and the Eugene Emeralds stadium projects. It's much smaller scale than we're talking about with the Blazers.
I think Eugene didn't happen.
So the state approved its piece,
gotcha.
And then the local bonding in Eugene did not pass. So Eugene is likely going to end up going away. They're going to play one more year in Eugene at this point, but the state did its part. And so I think that there has been almost a years long education here that has kind of prepared all these agencies we're talking about for the moment of when the Blazers come and ask, and that it's not just going to be, hey, give us money. It's going to be, let's do this together. And I think that there will be a positive outcome there. And I think that the people that are having that asked of them will ultimately be receptive. I think there'll be pushback for sure. I look at the city of Portland and the makeup there. There's going to be a lot of pushback, I think, within the city council. Obviously we know that, nothing's this. I have a hard time seeing this being a clear runway through the legislature. The $800 million bonding for baseball was future tax of player income that is not yet in the state. The Blazers have been paying taxes into the state for decades. So people will view that as taking money away from essential services. But if the flip side of it is, if you don't use that mechanism and divert that player income tax and the team leaves, you're not getting that tax money in the state anyway. So ipso facto, it's kind of the same thing. This is where I give credit to like the Rip City Forever group that emerged 2 weeks ago. Chris Dudley, Marshall Glickman, Joth Ritchie. Maybe they thought they were going to have a little more time as like the lone voice of this thing. Cause like now all of a sudden there's a new owner, but like they still want to work with the new owner, but they wanted to be having the conversations with lawmakers and local leaders that kind of got them ready for the kinds of conversations that they're going to need to have with a new owner. And so I think that there has been like some real foresight in this process to avoid a situation like Sonic's Gate, like you're talking about, where they were caught off guard. And what was the documentary? Was the documentary called Sonic's Gate?
I think so, yeah.
And it ends with one of the state lawmakers saying, like, we were blindsided. Like, we didn't see this coming. And I think that has been instructive to everybody here, that you cannot be reactive. Whew. Aaron, anything on that before I flip this?
No, I was
a
just
different way?
going to make a point before you more eloquently did so. Just that it just seemed bizarre to me that anyone would worry about getting money from the state for the Blazers when they came up with $800 million for a baseball team that does not exist. Now, you made the point that that's for future future taxes on a $170 million payroll that doesn't exist yet, whereas the Blazers taxes already exist because the team is here. But still, like you said, if the option is losing the team, therefore you lose all of that, then it just doesn't make sense to me that you wouldn't come up with the public money. As for Portland, you're 100% right. It's just such a wild card. You just don't know how people are going to choose to view a situation where you're pumping money into an entity that's worth billions and players are making obscene amounts of money comparative to the rest of us. And that a lot of people don't like that. They hate it to the point where they're going to try and rebel against it no matter what. But I just think the Blazers are different. I think Rip City's different. I just have not been able to wrap my mind at all around any pathway to this team leaving, but losing I can imagine, of course. But
you've seen enough of it.
Since I just covered the worst 4-year stretch since the first 4 years of the franchise. Thank you, Joe. I'm putting that on you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyway,
I'm not mad about it.
I know. So I just can't fathom it happen. But like you said, Bill, you made a good point. It's smart to be cautiously optimistic and wonder, because at the end of the day, you truly never know. Although I think I do.
And I just think, in addition to everything that we've sort of summarized here, I just think the league really took it on the chin with the Sonics in so many ways. Yeah, and really Oklahoma City, that's a whole nother conversation. Just the behind the scenes maneuvering and the manipulation and everything that went in there. I think they want to do everything in their power, and they're not completely, all powerful. It's
right.
A vote for the NBA Board of Governors, and it will either be approved or not, and then if so on and so forth. But I don't think they want to lose the Blazers from Portland, and I don't think they want another hit like that they took with the Sonics, and I think the league learned a lot from that experience. The Sonics have this brand new sparkling building. They're ready for a team. I think they're next up if and when the league expands, but I just don't see them moving Portland to Seattle, and I don't see them barring another, collapse, them moving another team there. I mean, maybe I'm naive. I just feel like as much as anything, they're using Seattle as a leverage for development, for remodel or rebuilds here and in other cities, and they'll dangle that as long as they can until Seattle gets a team. Again, I'll continue to say this until I'm wrong. I could be naive. I could be dumb. I just firmly believe that, for everything we've talked about and that black eye, I just don't see this team leaving.
It's like I think Seattle as a stalking horse does make a lot of sense. The reality is that the momentum behind expansion has really sputtered out. And I think that's the fact that is happening at the same time that the Blazers are available is what makes it sort of feel kind of urgent. And one thing that has come up in a lot of my conversations on this, Joe, you made the point that Jody, is likely trying to negotiate in a way that would keep the team here and find ownership that would keep the team here. You also wouldn't want to take away your own leverage in a negotiation. And portability has a lot of value. And so I think that there is a dance there. You want to find somebody who's going to keep the team here, but still the possibility of hey, if things don't work out, you have the option to do what you want. The other thing about the NBA, completely agree. Adam Silver and the people who actually work in the NBA, the last thing they want is for a new owner to come in and apply for relocation of the Trailblazers. But the reason, because if they apply for relocation at that point, there's not going to be a lot you can do to stop it, because that means that you've already tried to get the public funding for your projects. You're encountering pushback. You know that there are other options. Let's say Tom Dundon doesn't want to move a team to Raleigh because he knows Raleigh can't support yet another pro sports team, but Seattle's there, Vegas is there, Nashville will build you a stadium or an arena. And the reason, and you made the point about the vote and the Board of Governors, the reason that people don't think that the Board of Governors would block a team moving is because they don't want the other owners to stop them from doing what they want to do with their team eventually. Exactly. And so that is why that becomes a bit of a runaway train if things don't go smoothly here, or if the city council gets in the way and says, pay for it your damn self, but I think, and I wrote about this, or I tried to write about this in my column today, I think the Blazers' relationship with Portland is just different. I don't think this is just a sports team. I don't think it's just a basketball franchise. When you look at modern Portland and how Portland has grown into a modestly sized, but a major league city, that all can be tied back to 1970 and the beginnings of the Portland Trailblazers, the shared identity we have with 1977, even if we weren't alive for it, Aaron. But what is your favorite memory from the championship parade, Aaron?
I wasn't here yet.
Oh, okay. You were on the ground though.
I was what?
You were on the ground, like
you were walking or crawling.
I wasn't in Portland. My grandmother lived in Eugene. I remember them winning it, and I remember watching the next year when they lost to the Sonics, but I don't remember them.
Okay. But like I think we would agree that like the cultural significance of the Blazers and like the unifying tissue for this community is just bigger than like, hey, is the team any good this year? And so I think that civic sort of institutional connection is going to be what wins the day, and the economic impact of having this team here, the identity of being a major league city. You take the Blazers out, we become what, Louisville, Des Moines? Like, I don't think Portland wants that. I don't think anybody on the city council wants that. So I think that's where.
No offense to our Louisville and Des Moines listeners.
Have you been to Des Moines?
No, Louisville's great though.
Louisville is great. Omaha? Do we become Omaha?
No,
Joe, you've recently spent some time in Omaha.
Pass. Okay,
so a lot of talk about the arena, what where the money for the arena is going to come from. Aaron, you've had these conversations with Dwayne Hankins. I have. Joe, I'm sure you have over your time as well, about what the future of Moda Center could look like, what the future of the Rose Quarter could look like. We've been talking about the Rose Quarter as an entertainment district for nearly 40 years. And it has
to that point, I remember having conversations when Larry Miller was the president, and they had all these plans, and I've sat through these things, and it's just nothing has come to fruition. Sorry to cut you off, but I mean, it goes back decades.
Well, and that leads to the question of, is it even possible at the Moda Center and at the Rose Quarter? Does it need to be somewhere else? When you hear, Rip City Forever drops, they drop the little Easter egg of Lloyd Center in their thing. Is there an argument to, build a brand new building and entertainment district and tear down Moda Center and utilize that land differently? One thing that came up in one of my conversations recently is that there's only 8 acres of developable land around the Moda Center on the Rose Quarter property, as opposed to 60 at the Lloyd Center. That said, the vision of the Rose Quarter has always been riverfront, paradise, oasis, they're not making any more riverfront property. This is an iconic location. And yet for 40 years, it hasn't happened. So, I mean, Aaron, I'll start with you.
Do you need more than 8 acres?
I don't know. I don't know. How much? I mean, I suppose it depends on what you're really trying to do and what you're really trying to put in. If you just want to put in a Top Golf studio and a couple of restaurants, oh, by the way, there'll be a Top Golf studio now, right? This guy is a part owner of Top Golf.
It's going to be in the mezzanine up there. It's going to be in Paul Allen's old apartment at the top of the Moda Center.
I do like the idea of what if there was now I just get to dream. What if there was a giant mesh system out over the Willamette, and you got to hit balls
and just funneled back to land,
or into the river, but there's a giant mesh that then kicks them back, but you're hitting balls into the river off the 300 level. I don't know if I could reach the river from the 300 level. I'm a pretty bad golfer.
I think the main problem is that damn Coliseum,
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I mean, I don't know if
which
that's
should
an
be a
immovable-
baseball stadium holding the Beavers right now, and then being able to be
Preach!
expanded into a major league team. But that goes back to the city that you're not sure you trust, Bill. Right? Is that it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and the
Anyway.
fact, and I mean, and the Coliseum, by the way, is currently undergoing renovations and upgrades, and they're making
Imagine
it better. So they're making it better, so it can last for more generations of people to go see Disney on Ice or whatever. Yeah, great
My
memories
kids
of the
saw
Glass
Disney
Palace.
at Ice. It was actually at the Moda Center, so it's not even there. They're just watching their Winterhawks there.
And
I
and there will
covered the
be,
U.S. Ice Skating U.S. Ice Skating Championships were there a long time ago, and I helped cover that.
I touched the Stanley Cup there a few years ago. I guess you're not supposed to
Did
touch it, but I did it anyway.
Ooh.
unless you like win it, and then you can
Whoopsie.
do literally anything you want with it. You can
Yeah.
drink from it. You can pee in it. You can like play catch with it on a lake. Like
I also sat in the Back to the Future DeLorean there. There was a thing a few years ago for some reason. It was there.
The real one?
A Blazer. Oh yeah. The Blazers Media Day or something or other. I can't remember exactly what it
Wow.
was, but that was nice. I think it was like 80s. They were flashing back to the 80s or something. It was great.
I did go to the flashback, like in a different chapter of my life. I went. Joe, you were probably there. Remember when they did a preseason game against Phoenix there in like 2008,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a throwback, like
70s
old
night?
school. So and they had the Shawns call the game on the radio.
Yeah, it was great.
Like,
It was horrible to cover, but it was great to be there.
yeah, it was cool. I was there. I was just there as a fan. My girlfriend met Terry Porter in the foyer.
Very nice fellow.
I will say, arena-wise, covering the NBA the last 5 years, we haven't done a ton of traveling. My first year was a COVID year, and then after that, we were basing traveling on their success. And as I just said, not much there. But I did make it out to a lot of arenas, and mostly in the Western Conference. And it's clear when you go into some of these places how much nicer they are. I mean, Sacramento is beautiful. The Delta Center is amazing. Of course, Intuit is just stupid. Like that's on a different level down in LA. So yeah, I mean, work needs to be done. I'm not an architect. I said in our chat the other day, they could just throw a few $100 million at it and be okay. And Bill's like, state of the art. You got to be state of the art. And so, I'm not going to sit here and claim to know how that all can work. But I feel like the Moda Center is still pretty nice, especially on the outside. Like I still think
It's a very functional building.
Absolutely.
exactly. And so it just needs a facelift, just needs an upgrade. I don't think it needs to be torn down and rebuilt, or you have to go somewhere else. But if you're talking about the surrounding area in terms of what you want, I just don't know if you need more than 8 acres. But again, I can't imagine necessarily what that even means in terms of comparing it to other footprints. But I think it's doable to keep it there. I would like to see it stay there. Lloyd Center it doesn't turn me on as much. I like the waterfront situation, so I hope they can figure it out and just keep it where it is. Me personally.
Just for context here, because I think this is something we can, at least the three of us can envision, and we've been there. LA Live is 27 acres.
Yeah, and so, but you don't. We're not LA. Like, so
No,
we
but I mean, I don't think of LA as like
27.
I don't think of LA Live as like a sprawling complex.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels relatively compact. So a few things that jump out to me about the arena, and like, I don't spend a lot of time in luxury suites like you do, Aaron, but they are far. They're high. They're far from the court. They are very dated. Luxury experience is like a big part of is a big part of the modern arena. One other thing is like an integrated experience. If you are not in your seat in the Moda Center, you cannot see the game. Or if you are standing in like one of those little doorways, there is somebody telling you to either go to your seat or step out of the bowl. And the thing with new arenas and modern arenas is you can get up and go get a drink or a cotton candy or whatever, and you still have a sight line to the game. And Phoenix blew out like one end of their seating to put in like a deck bar area that's really cool.
Brooklyn has that too. Yeah,
Brooklyn has that. Sacramento and Sacramento, like
Sacramento
and both Chase when they in San Francisco when they built their new arenas, like you can like walk. It's like almost like what you would think of like in a newer baseball stadium where it's like you're walking and you still have like sight lines. I think that's something that they're missing. There have been a lot of conversations around just the gloom and lack of vibrancy, like when you show up to a game outside. Those lines have gotten. I don't know the last time you guys went through like the main entrance of the Rose Garden like with a ticket for a game. I went through with it with my kids this year,
Tickets,
and that,
what are those?
I know it's crazy. But the people listening to this podcast know what we're talking about.
I did that last year, Bill, and it was a blank show. It was too long and it was too much.
Don't show up at tip off.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
So now you're doing it at 6:30 at night. It's raining, and so like that has been part of it. Like, how can you? How do you make that not such a miserable experience? Do you need to like rethink the way the entrances work and how people actually get into the game? You do need a covered, like atrium, and then also like how do you create an energy around the arena on game night so you don't feel like you're like shuffling into a funeral and to get smacked in the face with noise and lights. I think that whole like there should be an experience from the moment you get out of your car.
Yeah, and there's things they can do with those parking garages. There's land over there. They can reimagine all of that. And the streets, they could sort of, redirect some of that stuff to create more space. I agree. I mean, I've been to almost every arena, maybe a couple of the newer ones I haven't seen during my 5-year absence. But it's not that far away. It's not like some albatross. I mean, the Coliseum is ridiculous, of course. I mean, that's the difference. I think the Moda Center is fine from the exterior. Paul Allen did a really good job imagining that. It almost looked like a spaceship at the time, and now it held up over 30 years. And of course, after 30 years, the interior needs to be, it needs a facelift. And there are smart architects and smart people that can come in and imagine and give everything that needs to be done there at a much lower cost than building a brand new multi-billion-dollar arena that is just, wasting material and land and all that stuff. And so I get the push for the Lloyd Center. I think the Diamond Project wanted that at one point, and it's a valuable, underused piece of land. I know that they're turning the old Nordstrom's into a music venue, right? That's in the plans, and it's there. The built-in transit's there. It's a very easy thing to develop. And so if some architect comes in and they decide they can't do it, then that makes sense. But I think the most sense makes sense to keep Moda, redo it. And I just, maybe I'm crazy, I just don't think it's that far off from being a very modern, up-to-date arena. It needs to be overhauled, but it's not like just this albatross that's sitting there.
There are also a lot of other projects.
You brought up Phoenix. Phoenix was a dump.
Yes. Well, right? it's the same age, by the way, or it might even be a little bit older.
I think it's a little older.
It's in my list of the oldest. The top 8 oldest Blazers were tied with Boston for number 7. Phoenix was in that list, but Phoenix
1992.
Yeah, Phoenix had gotten to almost where Key Arena was. Key Arena was untenable, right? And so it was like Memorial. Moda's ahead of where Phoenix was before its remodel, and its remodel, according to articles I keep finding, was only $245 million.
But what year? Because
you're
double or triple it.
Cost of everything.
It's only been a few years though.
Yeah, so probably double it.
Okay,
but 2019, is it 2019 or something, or 20?
This says 22. It's pretty recent. I think I covered a game before they redid it, because I remember thinking the scoreboard was just heinous.
But the point is that it's not $1 billion or $2 billion that you put on top, and then you're going back to the taxpayer and the public, the city and state. Is there an appetite to go to $1 or $2 billion to build a new arena when you could perfectly remodel a perfectly good building now?
Because
I think where there might end up being, and listen, a lot of this is going to depend on the whims of Tom Dundon and like what he envisions being a worthwhile project, and like what his appetite is for, a really, really huge swing. But like, there is renovating the building and giving it a facelift and, getting it to a level that the NBA can be happy with, and that maybe doesn't, stretch the pockets of the legislature or the city as much as something else. But we also are in a time where Portland is like still kind of crafting its identity coming out of COVID and 2020. And is there like a major swing or a really like moonshot way of thinking about the Blazers, where they play, what kind of district they play in, that transforms Portland in a major, major, major way?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, like a new Pearl District sort of revitalization sort of situation.
But that's also like, that is going to require incredible buy-in, incredible vision, incredible money, And we pointed out earlier that Tom Dundon is not the deepest pocketed owner in the NBA. If assuming we can just start calling him the owner of the Blazers, he's not going to be. He's not Ballmer. He's not Larry Ellison, who tried to buy NBA teams for years. So I think that's worth keeping in mind. Like, not is he going to want to do this on the cheap, but is he going to have the appetite to do the the $3 billion, or let's just say the $1.5 billion project? I don't know.
So the Suns Arena concluded, or excuse me, the project concluded in 21-22, FYI, just to get that out there. Okay.
I also I would also say, like, having been there, like, I think they did like an amazing job with that like deck and bar area, but you leave that like huge atrium and bar area and like walk around the concourse. The concourse, to my recollection, is still narrow, still feels dated.
It's dated.
So,
yeah.
And so I think they did one huge piece. And so I don't know if that's strictly the model, but that one piece of it I think is really cool.
I'll tell you what, nothing's more outdated than the visitors' locker room.
Oh my God!
Yes, well,
it's actually amazing.
But that's like that. A lot of arenas are like that. When I would go on the road with them, I'd be like, "This is a tin can. How do you fit?"
I think some of it's on
15,
purpose.
7-foot dudes in this thing.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be like, I mean, Aaron, did you ever cover a game at the Palace at Auburn Hills, or had the Pistons already moved to downtown Detroit? Or have you ever even been to Detroit?
I covered before I left. I covered the new arena, so he never went to that.
Okay,
dump.
Yeah. So the Palace was like famous for and like in the finals, turning on the cold, turning off the hot water and like having stale popcorn and like rotten sandwiches. Like it was a whole thing.
Great clubhouse attendant though. The Palace and Sacramento were the worst visiting locker rooms before their new arenas by far.
But listen, my former co-host on this podcast, Brenna Green, would be quick to tell you that Portland and the visiting locker room is up there as well, and it is tiny.
Yeah.
It is very, very small. You see and especially as these traveling parties have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's like 9 masseuses and 15, like strength coaches. And
They need 2 planes now.
Everything has pushed out of the locker room into the hallway into so it's like you can't really walk that back hallway without like stepping over an NBA player to get to the Blazers locker room. So there is whatever happens, I'm going to guess it's going to involve like expanding.
I think it's just illustrative
the locker room.
Yeah, it's illustrative of where the arena is at and the improvements that need to be made. It's something that no fan would either care to know about or know about, but it's just when you're inside, you see that dated. But again, and I do like your point, Bill, about if you imagine big and you take a big swing, you can do some, major improvements to neighborhoods in the city. Well, then I guess I get the investment because you're looking big picture. But assuming that you're gonna keep here, I just don't think that it's gonna take that big of an effort to make it to update it into a modern, beautiful facility.
What I want to see, if it stays at the Rose Quarter and at Moda Center, is I want to see a real riverfront, like a real waterfront in this city.
That silo's in the way, man.
I know, but you've got that. Even if you go a little bit north where the Aegean parking lot is, like, how do you figure out how to integrate the Rose Quarter with the river across to downtown? Like, there's all sorts of things. Are there water taxis that bring people over from downtown? And like, can you have like real river views and a real river experience while you're at a game or when you're, dining before the game? I just want to see like, and yes, the silos, are a historic problem, but like, can you figure out how to make this, to borrow from the Diamond Project with their stadium project, an iconic location for Portland that is like a crown jewel that when people see images of Portland, they see this beautiful arena sitting right on the edges of the river and they're like, I want to go there. That city looks cool.
100%.
Little known fact is Louis Dreyfus.
Julia Louis Dreyfus's dad.
Yep, it's part of the family. Was the silo, and they own that silo.
Yeah, some fun negotiations. It sounds like in over the years between Paul and Julia Louis Dreyfus's dad.
Didn't go well.
So if we've exhausted that topic, before we go, should we address what this could mean for the team itself? I.e. the front office, the coaching staff, the roster,
I just don't think we know it all. We don't know it all. And that's the next phase of this. What did he do in Carolina? I haven't dug into that yet.
Okay, I haven't taken a deep dive here, but he became the majority owner in 2018. And that was the year they changed coaches to their current coach.
And they had missed the playoffs 9 straight years.
Right. And so I've been of this mind since the team was announced. Well, yeah, even before that, eventually it was going to be sold, that if a new owner and the history of sports shows this, right? If the new owner takes over a franchise that is losing, they clean house pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Within a year at least. It happened in, I wrote about this, happened in Charlotte, I think Minnesota. Now, Houston, when Houston was purchased, Daryl Morey and D'Antoni were winning in the very first year. The new ownership, they won 60 games. Like, so there was no reason to say, I'm going to blow this up. So if I'm an owner and I'm coming up with $4 billion to buy the Blazers, and you've missed the playoffs, if you miss it next year, 5 straight years, you had 4 lottery picks, 4 off seasons, you traded Damian, the most popular player in franchise history, and CJ, and you still aren't winning. And then if you look at the roster, you're like, there's some nice pieces here, but nothing that moves the needle to make me think that we're going to be a difference in the West of all places as well. Why are you not going to make moves? Because he has no affiliation whatsoever with Chauncey or Cronin. And let's also remember, this is not a dig at Cronin, but Cronin was hired because they fired O'Shea and didn't want to do a search, right? It wasn't like they did an exhaustive search and came up with Cronin. They just elevated Cronin because they were too lazy to do a search. And they probably knew it would be tough to go out and do a search and bring in a marquee proven GM because you got to sell the team at some point, right? So why does a marquee GM want to take that job if they don't know who the owner is going to be in the next couple of years? So it's one of the reasons why I was stunned this offseason that they haven't made enough win now moves to really make sure they can get over 500 and maybe get into the play-in, because everyone has got to feel like their job could be in jeopardy if this guy isn't patient with this current rebuild, which has already been several years.
So the sale's going to take what? Boston just took 5 months. It took 5 months. So September, October, November, December, January. So the sale will become official in the midway through the season or nearing the end of the season. So
they've got this season to prove themselves.
Maybe 2.
Yeah.
I would say maybe 2, because you don't just come in and the first thing you do is clean house. You get to know people and all that stuff. It's not like the ownership has this history in the NBA where they're intimately familiar with the inner workings. You don't just come in and chop stuff up, So I think the regime has 2 years to prove that they are, capable of turning it around. And I think they've made moves to get that in the right direction. And so I agree with you in that. I think there's a 2-year kind of timeline here for that.
Yeah,
but we also don't know if he has a list. He could have a short list. He could have connections. He could have friends. He could have his boys. Like if Bill bought a team tomorrow, he's hiring Joe as the GM, and Joe's hiring me as the coach. And
he's not hiring me for the GM. He's hiring me for something, but it's not for the GM.
My point is that these guys have friends who have friends, and there's connections. There's your dudes. That's all I'm saying.
I think that's often true, and I think that like if that's the case, then like all bets are off, right? Like if this is somebody who's going to come in and like want to shake shit up, then like that's just the way it is. I think the level-headed way of looking at this, I agree with Joe. I would say you get a full year, and so if this is going to last into the midway point of the season, everybody's being evaluated the second half of the season. I think things would have to be a pretty significant crater to then say, okay, at the end of next season, once you've only been there for half a season, we're making wholesale changes. Now you might make the other changes. You might say, hey, we want to redo our scouting department, or whatever. But I don't see you saying we're getting rid of the president, we're getting rid of the GM, we're getting rid of the coach. But like, I think everybody has to understand that you are being evaluated. That this is, and I would argue that probably over time, everybody there, like in these prominent roles we're talking about, will be replaced. 1, because that's the nature of the business, and 2, owners want to get their own people in place.
Exactly.
And
the owner wants to hire their president. The president wants to hire their GM. The GM wants to hire their coach. And there are GMs out there who have rings.
Yes. Well,
who are available.
Yeah.
And coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got till next summer. I'm sticking with that. I think if they have another losing season, I think, again, I don't know Tom from a hole in the wall, but I think they have this season to win, or it's going to be trouble. But
I also think, like, what does win mean? And like, if Tom Dundon believes in the trajectory of this team in the way that Joe Cronin and Dwayne Hankins and Chauncey like talk about it, if he believes that the trajectory is truly what they are talking about, then getting to 500 like is relatively like that's not winning at a high level, but you're moving in the right direction. Does he buy into that and the pace at which you're doing it? Also with the knowledge, by the way, that you have, like I would argue, guaranteed butts in the seats for the 26-27 season because Damian Lillard's going to be back at whatever level he's playing.
Right.
And scene.
All right. So before you go listen to Sonic Boom, as recommended by Joe Freeman, make sure you leave a 5-star review and tell your friends that the Oregonian Sports Podcast and affiliated podcasts have not completely gone away. We're going to get back in the swing of things here. You're going to see things being a little bit different. Aaron's doing Duck Confidential. Aaron?
Duck Confidential with George Reister. You see, I got my little prop right here.
I can't see it.
Duck
Oh, there it is.
Prop.
There it is.
And I'm gonna get a helmet for every team in the Big Ten and put them up there and have them clash every week. That's another little thing here.
Hey, Aaron, give us the since we're doing a little bit of cross promotion here, give us your 15-second preview of the Ducks. What have you seen so far?
I don't think Fentress can say anything in 15 seconds.
This is a test.
They got to fill 18-19 starter holes. New quarterback who was mediocre at UCLA, but has probably improved a lot. I see them winning at least 9 games. I got to see the first 3 non-conference games to really have an idea of where they are based on the passing game, which they're replacing their top receivers and top tight end as well. And 4 offensive linemen. Woo.
Mr. Sunshine Aaron Fentress, ladies and gentlemen.
I said at least 9 wins. Come on.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Come on.
All right. Joe, we will continue to monitor the Blazers' trajectory, this sale, which is fascinating. I appreciate you guys making time for this emergency podcast on a Thursday morning.
Is this our official baton passing right here?
I think it's happening, or it's certainly like it's a murky area.
Wait, Joe, you got to be like this. Stick your arm back, Joe.
I'm collecting it.
Joe was not going to do the fake running thing that you were doing. There was no chance.
No, he wasn't.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much for the time and great perspective. Enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure our listeners did too. And we'll be back and do this again soon. Thanks, guys.
See ya.